You're listening to Relatable with Stephanie Michele, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Relatable. I am Stephanie Michele. I'm not feeling very well and have a story to back up why I'm not feeling very well. So last night, my love of fancy liquor drinks betrayed me. And it betrayed me because, normally I'll try to find new ingredients and, something that I've never heard of on a menu and go, oh, yeah, I want to try that. And usually if it has tequila in it, I'm all in. That's my jam. It's good for me. But last night I tried a drink that had matcha and tequila in it. Now, my friend, I wasn't familiar with matcha. And my friend that I was with said, oh, matcha's like an energy drink. It's cool. It will be sweet. It will be fine. Well, matcha has green tea in it, and green tea and I are not friends. We've never been friends. We do not get along. It's like the worst kind of weird high and nauseousness for me. So after two of these drinks, I was like, ooh, this is not good. Like I was almost convinced somebody had roofied me. It was so weird. So I'm not feeling that great. But you know what's good about this story? This is a friendship story because now I have a friend that knows that I can't drink green tea and will be like a little bit more careful with me when like this comes up again, and they can have my back. That's what's cool about having long-term friendships. Like people like start to know things about you and you have experiences and they can kind of like watch it for you. But he didn't know that last night. Now we both know. And after lots of drinking water and a little bit of coffee, I'm slightly starting to feel better. But no more matcha for me. Anyhow, so speaking of friends, I am having kind of a weird conversation with friends these days, and several friends, not just one friend in the same career or in the same area or even a friend, friends that know each other, but this conversation around this weird sort of anxiety that we're experiencing. And it goes something like this. So, and I'm in this mix too. It's not just my friends telling me, hey, I'm experiencing this. Are you having this experience too? And my answer is yes. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. But what it is I'm finding myself multitasking at a whole new level of like just heightened sense of anxiety. So like doing like a task and moving from a task to another task without even having completed that task, and doing it really quickly and just moving around and having awareness that I'm doing it and it's actually causing anxiety, but continuing to do it, for like 20 minutes or so. And then I'll go, oh shit, this is not good. I gotta stop. So it's weird to me that not just myself, but other people are experiencing this too. So of course this was a good moment to like sort of pull back and go, why? Like, why is this happening? Like, why, if I know better, like, why would I be doing this? And so this is what I've determined is the cause for this, and hopefully scientists and people with well-researched projects can tell me more if I'm on the right track or give me some more information. But this is what I think is going on. So number one, we have this perfect storm of now we see everything, right? So we know how people live. We know what they're doing, what they think about. Of course, a lot of it's their highlight reel, and it's kind of creates this other kind of anxiety because we're looking at it going, ooh, I should be doing more, or I should be doing it like that. And so there's that, but we're just seeing a lot more of everything, okay? And then there's a lot going on in the world today. And I'm not just talking about like navigating where you stand in the political arena or what side of that fence that you're on, but I'm talking about trying to determine what kind of global citizen we identify with. Like, there's just so much going on, and like it requires more like, hey, I don't know, I got to think about that. So there's that, and then there's this like, there's some people that are very, very, very convinced that their beliefs are the absolute truth, and they're very, very certain. And then there's this other camp that's like, well, there's so much information in the world and it's changing so quickly. Like, how can you be so certain? Like, I'm not quite as certain. Like, and then there's some other people that argue that facts don't matter anymore. So there's lots of weirdness. And really what it's creating is just this reality that's shifting at all times in all directions. And we're reminded of this every time our phone buzzes. And every time we react to those interrupting buzzes, we are rewiring our brain to stay in the chaos of responding to things at all times. So this is what I think the problem is. So this is how the habit of constant chaos and the constant chaotic activities begin. And if we're not careful, we carry this into our work, we carry it into our lives, we carry it into our relationships. So I'm just asking today, how do we stop the madness? I've had to have this conversation with myself and with my friends, like, what are we doing? The first solution that we came up with is absolutely stop as many of the opt-in notifications that you have going on your phone. Like, just get rid of them. You don't need that. Set a time to check your phone for other things than interacting with your friends. And you don't need like 10 apps telling you like you should pay attention to this. Like, just stop those things. Clean up your email inbox subscriptions. Probably a lot of that stuff you delete. You've signed up for it at some point. You've never read those things. Clean up that. That will help. If you do want to know what's going on and news is important to you, and it should be, designate a time to check the news every day. And even better, set a timer so you don't get sucked in to the weird articles that are also on that web page. What does this mole look like? Yeah, right? Yeah, so set a timer so you can get in and get out. And even better, like set the checking of news as an activity that you do with someone else. So then in the moment you have somebody that you can talk it out with, and like kind of share your emotions and feelings around that. So I think all of that helps. Most importantly, I think this is above all of those tips that I just said. Most importantly, we have to take better care of ourselves. How we relate to the world is a symptom of how we relate in the world is a symptom of how we relate with ourselves. Think about that for a minute. So when we're taking better care of ourselves, we make better decisions, period. That's it. You have to care for yourself in order to make good decisions. That's a fact. This includes the basics of rest, nourishment, exercise, but I would also add relating wellness. So like really making sure that the relationships that you have are healthy, and you're checking in, and you're having good conversations, and you're being a good friend, and you have good friends. Like that requires a little maintenance. And I also believe dedicating time to meditation and prayer is a must. These are like decompression tools, like to just kind of pull back. Like when you find yourself in a 20-minute, like I'm multitasking, and your body is actually telling you this is not good for you, like stopping and breathing or taking a walk or meditating or just saying, oh, I give up, surrender prayer, whatever it is, but it's a decompression for that stuff. And I think it's really important to stop and breathe. I'll tell you what's not self-care. Here's a list of things that are not self-care. Being short-fused, easily distracted, using abusive words, patterns of consumption, whether it be fast food, drugs, or just goods, buying a lot of stuff, hoarding, a tendency towards drama, intolerance. All of those things are symptoms of not having a self-care practice. I personally don't trust anyone that until I see evidence or awareness that they're trying to be responsible in some way for a self-care practice. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I believe in love. It's not just a romantic concept, but I believe that it is a major necessity for advancing humanity. And self-care is a very powerful tool, or not tool, a seed, I would say, of love. So it's really important that we take care of ourselves. And so part of my, I call myself a whip. Part of my whip journey, whip is work in progress. Oh. My work in progress journey is to try to live by the words, love more, fear less. I think that's what I have in common with my guest today. So she's decided that if anxiety and fear was going to be a part of her journey, she would do her best to befriend them along the way to hope to diminish their power that they had around her. So I'm really excited to hear the story, and I'm going to let everybody hear a little bit more about your bio before we get into it. So this is Tayler Deline.
Hello.
And she grew up an only child. Wow, I'm going to talk about that. With extreme anxiety and hypochondrias, OCD, and a tendency towards what-if thinking, which she says always ended up in some sort of catastrophe. Tayler has a knack for creativity and imaginative things. She attended a performance art high school for dance and found her passion for acting, graduated from Chapman University in 2011 for screen acting. When Tayler moved to Los Angeles to pursue her acting career, her anxieties and fears were magnified, leaving her with no choice other than to embrace them if she wanted to continue to pursue acting. She learned how to stop running from her fears and anxieties instead of running and instead turns towards them. Tayler has found through being playful, moving her body, amen to that, being in nature and consciously choosing to empathetically listen to herself and others is a sign of living authentically. This lean towards empathy has also helped Tayler develop reframing skills, we're going to talk about what that is, that she continues to use to embrace her journey and perfect her acting skills. Woo!
Yeah.
A lot there. So, yeah. I love that. I loved your bio. I was like, I got really excited. We haven't met before. Everybody should know. We're just meeting for the first time. We didn't even talk on the phone, and I usually talk to people beforehand. But if you remember the episode with Sidewalk Talks and Tracy's your aunt, right?
She's my cousin.
Because she's your cousin.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, Tracy recommendation, we're doing this.
She's super cool.
Yeah.
She actually called me before.
She did?
Yes.
I hope she's listening. Like, we should shout out, hi,
Hey,
Tracy.
girl.
So I knew that I loved her. I had never met her as well when we hadn't talked. And you just know, like, sometimes, like, in the vibe in the email, I'm like, oh, we don't have to. We're going to be fine. We'll have good conversational chemistry. And when she came in, I just knew, like this is my soul sister. I know this woman. Like, I know who she is. Mm-hmm. It was cool. I like her a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you're lucky to be related to her.
I feel that all the time. I literally just texted her before this, since she took it upon herself to become a psychiatrist in order to sort of learn more about herself. I said, thank you for changing the narrative of the lineage of our family.
Yeah.
Because I believe that.
I didn't know this, but I can relate to that too. Like, I feel like there are patterns in families, and if there's someone that's broke out in mine, it's definitely me, you know?
Awesome.
Like, and I love that about her. Like, that's another thing that we can relate to. So I ask every guest, like, we're going to talk about fear and anxiety. It might get a little deep in here. I have some tissues, but I didn't bring them to the table.
That's okay.
Oh no, we have to
let it run.
Yeah, we might have to bring them up. I have to call somebody. We need tissues in Studio B. Anyhow, so I ask everybody before we get started, especially after hearing like what I'm tuned into in terms of anxiety. Is there anything before we get into this topic that's like pulling your attention right now that you just want to get off your chest? Or
let me think. Something. If I'm being honest, because this is what I was just talking to Tracy about, that I think when you can become so self-aware of yourself and your own triggers, you can sort of play a mind game with yourself where you are taking a back seat. Instead of like living authentically, you can start to become the observer and the doer at the same time, and then you start getting in your head about all of it, and then you're like, wait, am I doing this because of that? And this, and me and Tracy were talking about, it's so hard, especially to be an actor and to try and live authentically and to try and explore your feelings without judgment. Yeah. And to not jump to a conclusion of, I'm crazy, something must be wrong with me. Yeah. And I had a tendency to do that, which was the reason that I almost let myself stop pursuing it. And that makes me really sad. That instead of like leaning towards it, that I almost just ran away from it, because when you're that sensitive and in touch with your own emotions, it's really easy if you're talking to somebody to assume that they are too. Yeah. And when you don't get the response or openness that you're hoping for, you take it as a reflection of something must not be right with yourself. And that's a really hard thing, I think, to get past for not just actors, but anybody who does suffer from anxiety or feelings of not being good enough or not understanding why your brain or emotions are reacting the way that they are. So, yeah.
So that it's getting heavy in here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Get ready.
Get ready. Well, so some people might go, oh, anxiety, like we all experience anxiety, like, oh, what makes, your anxiety better than my anxiety?
Yeah, like it's a competition.
Right. Like,
how effed up are you?
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, I'm more effed up.
Yeah, like it's a brownie badge.
Yeah, exactly.
All these different things. Well, so just to give people an idea, maybe let's start in childhood, because you talked about like you experienced this from a young age. Do you remember when you were like, oh, I'm experiencing something that's different from other kids.
Okay,
like,
yeah. I'm going to be really honest with you. Okay, yeah, it's cool. We got this, girl.
We got it.
Yeah, no, if I'm being totally honest with you, from a young age, I was really self-aware of the human condition. The fact that life is really temporary, the fact that you live and then you die. Mm-hmm. And I know that's really dark and
What
deep.
age do you think that was?
6.
Whoa.
I'm not even, that's just real talk.
Yeah.
And
did you have a dog die or like a family, like what?
I think there were people around, like family members or friends of my family who passed away, and the significant impact that had on the emotional lives of my parents. Mm-hmm. And then I became very scared by that and sort of withdrawn, and it almost made me become like a turtle.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like I was out in the world, everything's good, and then you're like, oh no.
And of course they didn't talk to you about it. You just witnessed it as
no,
a kid.
Yeah, I mean, of course there comes the point where they have the talk, but if you're an observant child, you see and feel it before anyone even has to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And so I started relating to my emotions so quickly, and then understanding how that causes behavior, you know, because thoughts create emotions and emotions create behavior. Mm-hmm. So then I started noticing that I would be so afraid of something that I would start thinking about it a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, I was so terrified of it, and it was like, I need to figure out this problem. I need to find the solution, but it's like you can't actually find a solution to that because guess what?
Yeah.
You can't.
When you say, like, would you create, like, monsters under the bed, or, like, would you create things, like...
No, that's a really light version. No, I was terrified of everything. I mean, my family friend had people with, like, horrible diseases and stuff like that, so I would go down that route. Yeah. Where it was, like, the human condition and what are the worst possible outlets of that happening, and I was like, wow, I'm really... causing so much suffering in myself, and it was like my nervous system would be shot, you know, because it's like I remember I would just think about things in worst case scenarios, and I'd just be like trembling, sitting there, terrified. And then the older I got, and the more I realized what I was doing, until I got to the point that I'm now. It's sort of, you realize you've been doing all these coping mechanisms to run away from that feeling. Right. And I'm like, wow, I never really dealt with it. I just, like what you're talking about with doing so many things, different times, and sort of trying to, around the clock, you know, distract yourself from whatever it is that's giving you that. Yeah. I didn't say that, but I'm glad that you're picking up on that, because that is part of it. I think like there's so much that we want to put our attention to, and maybe even a little guilt around, like, oh, am I being the global citizen that I want to be? Like, am I showing up in the world that I want to be? But yet I still have to make a living. I still, you know, I've got to, like, you know, keep a house, you know, take care of a dog, you know, like interact. And so you're moving around to like take the heaviness off the, like, the big thing. And yet, like, it's just a product of, like, you really need and want to, like, think about the big thing that you need to chip away at. Yeah. But it's so easy to let it become the mountain. Yeah. And that's what I did for so long. I let it be the mountain that I was like, oh no. And then you feel yourself sort of like disappearing into yourself. And for me, I realized that's not a way to live. Yeah. You're not actually, you're wasting your time then if you're doing that.
What came up for me in this visual, I love that you're an actress, like, you're just like, it's cool. But what came up for me in this visual is like coping is like kind of putting layers of heavy coats on, and to the point that you're not there anymore. Like, you're just like, oh, it's comfy, it's a puffy coat, it's a puff jacket, I dig it, it's soft. But then there's so many.
You've lost yourself within all of that. Yeah. It's just it's like being bubble boy. Yeah. Walking around and you're just like, I can't get hurt by anything. And everybody's like, okay, but what are you actually doing?
But you can't feel anything. We can't see you.
But I'm not really here anyways. Like, okay, well, I mean, if you want to do that, that's cool. But then it starts to feel like you're living in the same exact way, having the same exact coping mechanisms, almost in the same cyclical way. Yeah. And then it's just the timeline. You're just wasting more time doing that. And I started to realize that, and I was like, no. That's not good.
Existing to keep up. One of my biggest fears in life is just to exist to keep up. And so it's like this like cycle that you can't break, right? Like, you're now kind of like just looped in the dryer cycle. Like, you're not going anywhere.
I always say that whenever I get negative repetitive thoughts, I call it the washing machine.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, I got to get out of the washing machine.
At least you're clean. I'm just dry. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So 6, that's pretty early. Like, can you think about, I immediately want to jump to high school because it's like a really high anxiety time for anybody.
God.
Like, do you have a memory there that was like really significant in terms of like,
In terms of anxiety, high school for me was maybe different than most people because I went to a school that started from 7th grade and went to 12th grade. And I know for me, as far as having anxiety goes, having routine helps me to become less anxious. So being at the same place for a long time helps me feel more like, okay, I got this. Now I can feel a little more free and take off those coping jackets and then just like live, you know. But I went to a performing arts high school, so it was really hard because it's hard not to judge yourself against other people in a world where everyone's trying to be the best. And I remember, for me, I think the thing that brought up the most anxiety, but also was a really huge turning point in my life, was that freshman year, I was always a dance major. That was like my thing. For a long time. I danced from the time I was 6 to the time I was like 18, but that's neither here nor there. But we had these things called all-school musicals. So no matter what your conservatory was, whether you're musical theater, dance, whatever, you could audition for the all-school musical.
Okay.
I embarrassed myself so much because I didn't realize you had to sing a song in order to get to the dance audition. So I sang Happy Birthday in the most awkward, horrible, talk about just being so embarrassed and feeling humiliated, because singing was always a passion of mine, but something I never shared with anybody. So I decided in that moment, I was like, you know what, the next year, I'm going to make a change. I'm gonna go for it. Yeah. So I got like a vocal coach, and then we worked together, and I ended up actually, even though I was shaking, trembling the entire time, I busted out Cabaret as my song. Whoa. And I got the lead. Nice. And so to me, even though it was a time with high anxiety, because there's a lot of performance and people and hormones. Yeah. And you know what I mean? It's just a really awkward transitional time. You're all trying to find yourself and how you fit into this dynamic that's the world, but also the cliques. I realized removing myself from cliques and things was better, and I always kind of felt like a lone wolf. And then I realized, okay, so I have an ability to be self-aware and to change my own narrative myself instead of being a part of a group that's going in a direction. And I think that's when I started to realize I can take charge of my own. Yeah, so what's coming up for me in that story is like less about the anxiety, but more about being fearless. It's just like, okay, maybe this was the turning point where you're like, well, it's there. The only thing I can do is get over the hill. So like, what's the tools I'm going to use to get over the hill? And like, in your case, you got a vocal coach, right? Like you like started thinking that way. Can you think where you would get that kind of thinking from? Like, was there anybody in your family, a role model? Like, that's like a serious sort of, I would say an effective behavior, but if you didn't know it from somewhere, where did you get that? I mean, I would say probably if there's someone that I have to like think about in that term, probably my dad, because my dad also grew up having high anxiety. And so I feel that if I need to talk to someone, he's the one who understands that situation probably more than anyone. And he is a really big character. He's such a out there kind of person, and I love that so much. So I felt like he always was kind of telling me, like, who cares? Yeah. Who cares? You have to just laugh it off and go for it. And I was like, wow, there's a freedom in letting yourself just be whatever it is. Yeah. Dumb, silly, funny, make an ass out of yourself. Who cares? Yeah. Because honestly, it goes away. Yeah. It's even feelings are temporary. Right. Well, and even like you look at how quickly something like gets people's attention today, like in the news cycle or whatever, like, something going viral, like people forget about it, you know, in 3 days. Like there's something new, so it's not
I talk a lot about on the show, like vulnerability. I love vulnerability. I'm kind of vulnerability extreme sportist. It's like, bring it on.
I
like,
love that.
Yeah, it's like, because like what happens is, yeah, you can be a little awkward at a moment, but it's like being naked.
You're like a flasher, but like with your emotions.
Yeah, but you can't get more naked.
Yes,
like you
I
can't
agree.
get more vulnerable. It's like it happens, and then it's like, oh, it's a little bit of weirdness or awkwardness, and then you're over it.
Mm-hmm.
And so is everybody else. They're not thinking about it. Like they don't even know that you were like vulnerable in that moment. So like what, why not?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how you learn and grow. It's like, it is what it is. So, but I don't like, it's interesting to me to ask people like, when, like, where did they learn that from? Because that's a very difficult thing to do, to face your fears. And if you don't have a role model or, or someone showing you what that behavior looks like, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So good on you.
Yeah. Good on you, Dad.
Good on
Thank
you.
you.
Good on Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad. Yeah. It's just right off Father's Day. We're still appreciating dads.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
The dads in our
That's what
life.
I'm giving to you, Dad. A shout out.
A shout out. Shout outs to dads.
Yeah.
All right. So people that are not. Before we flash to moving to Los Angeles, pursuing an acting career, is there any other pivotal moments in there that you feel like you should share to kind of give a good, clear vision into like the anxieties that you're really dealing with and overcoming them, or like any other pivotal moments you want to share?
Well, I can be really honest, and why not? You know what?
Yeah.
Why not?
Come on, you could be a vulnerability extreme sportist with me.
You're right. When this is kind of more about, it doesn't matter. I'll just go for it. When I was in college, I studied abroad, and I went to Italy, and I hate flying. I don't know about you, but I hate flying. The idea of being 35,000 feet above the floor and me just sitting there like,
breathing stale air.
Trying not to worst case scenario think of anything that's happening for 16 hours. I'm just like white knuckling, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so beautiful. So I'm over there, and I'm living alone for the first time in my life, and I realized that I was trying to have all these really awesome experiences, but what ended up happening was my parents ended up getting divorced in the midst of all of that. And I sort of really realized a lot, and that's I think something that definitely made me zoom out like really hard in life and be like, whoa, the things you do have an impact on people and their emotions. And then I started to be way
just
more.
Slow down. I want to. That's such an important statement. The things that you do have an impact on people and their emotions. It's like that's just a big statement. Well, it's a little accountability here, people.
Accountability, totally.
Yeah.
That I then became aware of my own accountability, of the fact that I have to love myself enough to give that love to other people so they can feel disarmed and in turn be the best version of themselves. Otherwise, people say that that only you can let someone hurt someone else's feelings. I can't hurt your feelings. Only you can let me hurt your feelings. Of
course.
But tact is everything.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing something without tact like that, and you're just giving somebody all these like raw emotions that you yourself haven't processed, all you're doing is co-creating a space where you're just re-triggering each other's stuff, and I wanted to get out of that loop.
I would say it a different way. So like this is a constant theme that comes up. So I believe in, if you want people to be successful with you, you should give them the tools to be successful with you. So so there's that. It's like, you don't want to put somebody in a situation where they're not able to be their best self for you or for for themselves. And then is the other things. I lost it. This is where the mancha sickness is coming in. I'm like, the thought went in, the thought went out. And then the other thing. Oh yeah, I got it. It came back. Thank you.
Ding.
Thank you, brain. It's not totally wired for chaos yet. There's still hope. And then I lost it again.
You're a whip.
Yeah.
You're a whip.
I'm
girl.
a whip.
Yeah.
I'm a whip. I'm a whip. If someone just turned in, they're like, "What the hell is she talking about?" What
I
is
was
a whip?
wondering that when you first said that.
Work in progress. That's what it is. Anyhow, so then there's this idea of just creating safety in communication. Like, like if you're creating safety for somebody else and watching, you said tact, that's creating safety, then someone is comfortable enough to like interact and engage and share and stuff. And, the example, I can't help but share this, and I'm sorry people that don't have the same political views that I do, but one of the reasons that people do not like Donald Trump is he does not create safety and communication. He's a bully. You know, it's very, you know, uses abusive words. It's very attack mode all the time. And so it's going to be very difficult for someone to come in and work compromise and solution when there's not safety in that. So that's same thing as saying that I agree with you 100% with what you said, just a different way of saying it, like a little bit of reframing.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting into reframing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a big moment. You're in a foreign country, learning that your parents are getting divorced and kind of like processing everything about your life and how you're acting or how you're going about life. And then from there, so how long after that did you move to Los Angeles?
Okay, so that I was, I think, a sophomore in college. So I was 20. And I moved up here when I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah, 23.
Or 23. Yeah. So, and you came to Los Angeles because you wanted to act.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Maybe like give a narrative of if someone's listening and they're not in the entertainment industry and they don't know anything about being in that, especially in Los Angeles. Like, what was the first sort of encounters like, or what are you told that you have to do? Like,
oh, interesting. Well, you know, I think I came up here with a really open mind. So the first thing, obviously, you have to do is find a job. Yeah. That's, like, key.
A non-acting job, right?
Yeah. First of all, don't come up here and not find a job. That's number one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to stress yourself out, and it's going to be even harder. But what I ended up doing was, the first thing I did was get into an acting class. Okay. Wait, what was your question exactly? I'm sorry.
Just to kind of, you know, what were people telling you about the entertainment industry? What were you supposed to do? What's the right way to pursue it?
What's the right way? The right way to pursue it. You know what? I never really listened to that anyways. I know that sounds terrible, but but when you have anxiety, sometimes you just can't.
You got to do the best you can.
Yeah, you have to do the best you can, not somebody else's way all the time. But I tended to feel like there's a lot of a feeling of pushing, you know, and I don't like that. I do not like that. Like when somebody's pushing me, I'm like, can you not? Because this is not, I'm not going to be the best version of myself.
So somebody can't tell you what the plan is. You've got to come up with the plan.
I have to just digest it, you know, and then get back to it. But I guess the right way is to get into, what would you call it, casting director workshops and that is a good thing. I don't think that is a bad thing. I actually haven't been to one, but that doesn't, neither here nor there. But casting director workshops, I got into an acting class right away because it is a muscle, so you got to keep flexing it, basically. But meeting people is everything. People were like, yeah, you got to go out and you got to meet people and you got to network. But with anxiety, sometimes it's really hard to feel like you aren't a burden, you know, that pleasantly persistent thing. I always was like, I feel like I sound like I'm like, excuse me, sir, can you please help me? You know, and I was just like, I don't like this. I need to. And so I was going out and I was meeting people, but then it was like, and then I was going to the bar and I was drinking too much and I was smoking cigarettes and I was doing that thing where you turn away from the thing that you really want to do and start avoiding it. And it was like, if my life was a computer, I had all of these tabs open and none of them were the one that I actually wanted to look at. Yeah. So I was doing all these things instead of going on to the path. Yeah. Which is, for me, I think it's just being as authentic as you can, getting in and working and then networking, meeting people, finding like-minded people, creating projects together, whether it's paid or unpaid. You know, it's obviously important to make a living, but to create things that I think you feel represent you in the best way possible is the most important. But as far as a right way goes, I've noticed, and I've met people who are really successful in the business, and the thing that I hear all the time is to create your own content. That's the thing that I hear more than not. So when people were telling me how to do everything, it was just, I felt overwhelmed because I'm like, I don't know, you have to find your own voice and know who you are and know what you want to represent and know how you feel you fit into the world and what you want to give out to it, instead of people telling you, because that's the thing, is people will try and tell you who you are all the time. People will try and tell you how they see you, what roles you fit, but you know what? No one knows your truth but you. and no one knows what you're capable but you, and prove them wrong. That's what I have to say about the business. Ooh, I feel like I got kind of spicy there.
You did get a little spicy. I like it. I like spiciness. Spiciness on a Tuesday. It's the best.
Why not? Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. Yeah, and spice.
Yeah.
And tequila.
Oh,
with no matcha.
Taco Tequila Tuesday, no
I've
matcha.
never
Hold the matcha.
Hold the matcha.
Yeah.
Good Lord. All right. So do you agree with the content thing? So to create your own content?
I do, yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I would think, I'm not in the biz, but I would think like, you leaning in towards whatever project that you want, that you feel exhibits your talents the best.
Yeah.
And having that represent you is like the best calling card. It's a different age, right? Like if we were, if it was 20 years ago, even, maybe it is this, this your headshot card and all that stuff, but that's just not real anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to show.
I don't think so.
Multi-dimensional content.
And how do you do that if you've become typecast? Well, then you find like-minded people who you feel safe co-creating a space with to explore your emotions and vibe off of each other and make something.
Yeah.
Because I think even, and people are like, well, I don't want to do that because I don't have the money to do that. But it's like, okay, well then get more creative.
Yeah.
Every time you find an obstacle, make it an opportunity. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah, there's another good nugget from Taylor. Every time you find an obstacle, create opportunity.
That's what I'm trying. That's the only way to consistently have forward motion. And I think that's also important. If you don't continue with your forward motion, even if it's a tiny little step, you have to take a little nibble and digest it.
Momentum.
Yeah, you have to keep that going. Yeah. Otherwise, it's easy to stop yourself from getting what you want.
I 100% agree. All right, so we've kind of talked about living authentically in a roundabout way. It was in your bio, and you've brought it up a couple times. Like, it comes up a lot in my circle of friends too. It's like a really important theme that we just want to live the best version of ourselves and know that that's good enough. What does it mean to you? Like, what does really like living authentically mean to you?
To me, living authentically means that I check in with myself, that I'm aware of where I'm at, of the things that are upsetting to me in the moment, to be able to digest them and learn from them. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not learning from them and you're only aware of them, it's not going to help you to progress in any way, shape, or form. And so you have to do, I think you have to do things where you're consistently checking in, whether it's like writing in a journal or meditating or exercising or doing things where you have that sort of you zone and you know what it feels like to be that way. And when you're in that space that you feel, you have to practice living that way always.
Yep.
And I feel like if you're giving that to somebody, you're giving them the gift to also receive it, which then makes them feel okay and disarmed to be that way too.
Are you, so you talked about doing it in meditation. Do you find yourself doing it when you're relating with people too? Like if someone says something, like if I said something right now and it landed wrong, it felt like hurtful. What would be like, do you feel like you have a process for kind of checking in and then responding to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely.
I could say something hurtful and we'll try it.
Go for it. You know what? Go for it, dude. I'm ready.
Just kidding.
No, but
never do that.
I actually, nice thing that you said that. It reminds me. I try to do everything in real time. I do not let something that somebody said hurt me and then ruminate it 10 hours later, or I try not to. If you say something that upsets me or that I'm confused by, instead of letting it trigger me and me saying like, what the hell are you, like, where's that going to get us? Nowhere.
Right.
I'll be like, wait, can you explain that?
Yes.
Or can you can you expand on that? Because I'm not certain what you mean.
I love this. I mean, like you're exhibiting. I did not know how she was going to answer this question, but I absolutely love how she's answering this question, because I believe that this is a well-being sort of practice of like, because things will land. People say things all the time. They don't mean to hurt us. And, we just have triggers. Like we have things that like might bring up a memory, and it's like, oh, now I'm like really, I have anxiety, or I'm sad, or I'm angry, or whatever. And the best thing to do for yourself and for the other person, like we were talking earlier, is to go, like kind of stop, check. Your body's usually telling you something. Your body's like, I carry tension here. So if something stresses me out and I feel stressed, I'm like, why is this causing me stress? I got to stop, right? Yeah. So your body, you can like kind of check in with your body and then pull back a little bit and ask them, like, what did you mean by that? Like, tell me more, like, let me check in and then respond. I like the idea of saying, slow down judgment, speed up curiosity.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. To lean into curiosity, I think, is the best way to learn about yourself and others. Because if you're on the defense and you're assuming that somebody is feeding into the narrative that you also tell yourself, it's just going to reaffirm it. Yeah. And you're just going to keep...
And then it's a monster.
Yeah, and then you're just going to keep living stuck in that life instead of being like, wait a second, you're not me and I'm not you and you think differently, but I could use this to learn. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think curiosity is the best way, honestly.
I would think that's like an amazing tool and skill to have to be an actor too, like
I think so.
to like kind of check in, because you're checking in with yourself, you're checking in and getting somebody else's narrative, and you're just learning about human behavior in the process, and having all of this in your toolbox. I think that would be amazing.
No, it is. I mean, in acting, I think it's similar kind of to what you're doing. You're co-creating a safe space in order to like dive deep and explore. And so for me, not every person that you work with is going to be as open to sharing what their side of it is, but I've learned so much from just being in class and watching somebody learn. When you see that light bulb go off in someone's head, or you see that connection that they make to something, it's not just for them, it's for you too. And so it helps me to feel better about going there within myself, because it's a scary place to go sometimes. There's so much stuff that you're holding on to that you're not conscious of. Yeah. And so sometimes when you go there in a scene or in acting, you have to decompress afterwards. I remember, like, not that long ago, I did this scene that was really emotional, and for what it meant to me was something so personal. And I went to lunch afterwards without having decompressed, and I just was like staring at somebody, and in my head I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable, all this stuff that's bringing up, and I'm like, woo! But then you learn the tools to sort of like shake it off and get back, because they always say in acting, it's sort of living the life that you, or saying the things to somebody that you never could. It's continuing a relationship who maybe was somebody who had passed away. Yeah. You can live through that and that emotional life that is given to you, and it's not necessarily to recreate trauma or to relive it, it's to move through it. Yeah. Because that's the only way, I think, as somebody with anxiety, OCD, hypochondriasis, you have to move through it, because if you keep walking up to the same door, turning around and walking away, you're just repeating the same thing.
Totally.
You have to
You're back in the dryer.
Yeah, you got to open it and walk through.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, wow. Time is going by. I just check the clock. All right. So I have so many more questions, and I have to pick the ones I want to ask.
I'll go really fast. We can speed read.
Yeah, we can speed read? Yeah. All right, we could do that. So living authentically, and kind of talked about how that helps in acting. Like, another thing that came up, and that I love that you're doing, like, your body is so important in communication too, and like kind of showing what that's supposed to look like. Like, you could have an emotion, you probably can tell this better than I can, but you could have an emotion that you feel like you're exhibiting in your words, but you're static down here, right?
Yes.
And you have to learn that, like, well, this is communicating something else. Like, I've had people go talk with the most loving words, but are sitting like this in a group session, and it's like, okay, we got to work that out. Like, there's something else that's communicating here, and sometimes that's confusing for other people, and that's not creating safety either. So getting all those things aligned as a tool to act seems like
being grounded. Yeah, finding the things that help you feel grounded and using them as a practice all the time. Whatever that is for you. If it's mantras, if it is like working out, or if it is, so I like running. To me, I think running is good because it's like that. And you get out of your head, and I listen to music, and I sort of dance when I run. Like I like dance to the music as I'm running. Make it a fun thing. Yeah. And then to feel of the earth instead of in your head. Yeah. Then you feel like connection here, and then connection to your intelligence, and it's like a straight shot. You know?
All
instead
things
of everything
working together.
up here. Because if you're trying to intellectualize your emotions, it's probably not going to come across the way that you want. You have to be connected to the whole.
Yeah. Well, there's always, and we talk about this here, is like there's always more information available. And if you're stuck on one topic, you're not using all those other resources, or you're only thinking from your head and not like, from your body has information. I'm telling you this. Like, I'm exploring this more, and we'll have more topics on the show around that of like how much this is a communication tool, and it's telling you things. But yeah, you need all of this information to make good decisions.
And your brain has survival mechanisms, so if something's uncomfortable, it says don't go there.
Yeah.
Even though that's where you want to go.
Yeah. Totally. So let's talk about reframing. Yeah. So you talked about reframing in your bio. I use it I call it like when I'm, when you're about to enter into the tomb of gloom, you're like the doubting, the negativity about reading a situation or your own situation, like reframing is my go-to tool, which just like simply means like for me, and I'm going to have you explain what it means to you. Like, it's just a way of like telling a different narrative. Like, well, yeah, you think it's this, but you really don't know it's this. So like, it could be this, it could be this going on. Like, this person had a bad day. You don't know, but it's just kind of coming up with a new story that there's less attachment around, really, so you can kind of move forward.
Yeah.
What do you call, or like, what is reframing to you? I guess
reframing to me is when you feel that moment of completely stuck, completely in your own head and completely negative, to zoom out and to try and find a different narrative. And for me, it's by working through it. And the way that I tend to do that is humor. Humor and hyperbole. Being really over-exaggerated and really humorous with myself so that I can see how ridiculous it is that it's that I would let that stop me from going after something. So I take this story and I'll say it out loud. You know, I'll say da 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 da, whatever it is that's bothering me in that moment, and then I'll go with it. Yeah, well, if this happened, then this will probably happen too. And oh my gosh, well then I'll probably just all my tires will pop, and then this will happen, and then my hair will fall out, and then of course, you know what I mean? Just really going to the extremes so that I can touch base with that frequency that I have, and then lift it up with it. You have to, I find that you can't hide from the frequency. You have to match it and then lift it with you. And for me, humor does that.
I like humor too. I like to stay, I like to, in words have power. Like, so if you're saying something like, well, everybody thinks this about me, and then you can kind of go, well, everybody, like who's everybody? Like there's words that you use that have so much power. And as soon as you take their power away, it is kind of ridiculous. Yes. It is like funny to laugh at it. Like,
it is.
Well, everybody told me you couldn't do that. Oh, right.
Totally.
Like, it's goofy.
Totally.
Goofy.
It's true.
All right.
Anxiety does make you goofy, though, but I think it's a really good gift as well, because I think you end up becoming really empathic towards other human beings, because you're like, look, I get it. You have other stuff going on, too. Yeah. And I want to be able to let you feel them and not feel judged for them.
I like that. So that's kind of where you are right now with your anxiety. It's like you're using it as a tool for empathy. Yeah. And then you kind of have these other tools to kind of take it, dissect it, reframe it, and that actually helps. There are life skills in there, and then it helps you with acting.
Yeah, well, acting is very psychological. Yeah. You know, people's needs, wants, objectives, obstacles, things like that. Yeah. So when you break it down, you start looking at your own life that way, and then you think, oh, okay, what's my objective here? Yeah. What do I want? Okay, what's in my way? Yeah. What are the tactful ways that I can go about getting that? I mean, obviously, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, but it's real, you know? And when you have forward motion with that, then it's like, oh, okay, practice, Absolutely. Keep going.
Absolutely. All right, where are you in your journey right now of pursuing acting? Like, what? Like, is there do you set goals?
You know what? I'm working. That's like my next. I mean, I do have goals that I have, but setting goals is a new thing in my life, which is where I realized I had gone very not right before. I was like, wow, I'm just sort of floundering and letting my anxieties, crush me. Yeah. Instead of having something to work towards. Yeah. Because it's like, what are you doing if you're not doing something to get somewhere? Right. You're just sort of like.
So setting goals is new, and is there anything that you want to like publicly declare that like this is what I'm doing right now, like this is the part of my journey, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm working on.
I mean, you know, for me right now, I'm just working on being authentic in my work and to not let my anxiety stop me from showing who I am and who I know I can really be. And the next step is, like I told you, I'm getting my reel re-edited, and I'm really trying to harness that vision and what I think that should look like. And I guess the next goal is to find representation, so that I can actually put myself out there and get in the room and just why not go for it?
Right.
Because what else is there to do?
You moved here for this.
Yeah.
Like you've already committed. You're doing it.
Right. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, girl.
Yeah.
If you're going to go down hard. You know?
Right.
I just make it.
What is it? Go big or go home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really feel like going home. It's no.
It's kind of hard.
That's not the story I want to tell.
That's not the story.
Yeah.
All right. We are like running close to the end of time, but I so want to do this box with you because like sometimes they're just like they're silly questions.
I like that.
So the whole reason that I do this, like we talked about your thing, you know, like how you're overcoming anxiety and just where you are, very real about where you are. But I know I want to hear some more of this humor that you're promising us. So I know I think one of these questions will help us learn a little bit more about Tayler.
Is it humorous that I'm literally sweating like a hog right now?
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's funny, but you have something in common with who's the actress in La La Land? Doesn't she talk about
Emma
like sweat?
Stone?
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't seen.
She talks about. There's an interview with her
sweating.
that she talks about how she basically was like sweating like a pig, and even Ryan Gosling was talking about how sweaty she was when they were dancing.
Oh well, girl, I feel you. I'm literally soggy.
You're soggy? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't smell you, so it's fine.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's good. All right, so this will be fun, baby. I don't know. If you don't like it, we'll pick one more.
What? That's not fair.
That's not fair? Okay,
no.
Fine. You're going to answer this.
Yeah, okay.
If you were given a free Super Bowl ad, what would you advertise?
If I was given a free Super Bowl ad, what would I advertise?
They're worth millions of dollars. Like, this is a big time. People are tuning in. If you have a broad audience and you're given a free one, what would you put out there?
What would I put out in the world? Dude,
I feel like I need hold music or singing right now.
Yeah, I don't even know because I'm not gonna give you some answer that I don't believe.
Would you put your reel out there?
No, what? That's so self-serving. Oh my, gross. No.
No.
Yo.
Hire me.
No, yeah.
Hire me for your next Super Bowl.
So sad.
Okay, so it's not that. Is there something that you really, really care about and that you would want people to like tune in? Like you have this like.
But then that's not funny. I'm like thinking.
Oh, you don't have to be funny.
So much pressure.
I know.
No. I don't know. No, I don't. There's nothing I can think of.
There's nothing.
I'm just gonna go with, I don't know.
All right. I see. We need another question. What is the biggest crime you've committed?
What's the biggest crime I've committed? That's funny because when you have anxiety, you have a really guilty conscience. So like you don't commit crimes because you're so worried that something bad is going to happen anyways, like something catastrophic, that why would I commit a crime? Because then I would just like, really work myself up over that. So nothing. Like the worst thing, honestly, I think I've ever done criminal. I accidentally walked out with a pen, and I will never forget this when I was like 8 at Main Street, Yorba Linda. I walked out with a pen, and the owner of the shop came running out, screaming at me, and I didn't even realize I did it. That was enough to like make me be like, I will never do anything again. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. But yeah. I'm like, please.
So we will not see you on like TMZ, like like pulling a Winona Ryder anytime soon.
Oh
no.
No.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
No, my conscience is far too guilty for that.
No, it's not gonna happen. Well, she's like told us a benefit of social anxiety.
Totally, yeah.
If you don't want a life of crime, just lean into your anxiety.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. All right.
I know what I would do a Super Bowl ad about.
All right.
Mental health care. It's really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. And
That's not funny, but it's real.
And even better, you would put Tracy's organization in there.
Hell yeah, I would. Sidewalk Talk. USA.
That's
baby.
right.
Yeah. Listening, because listening is important.
Listening is super important.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Listening important. I'm glad you recovered with that answer.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It was really bothering me. I was like, this is such an opportunity. I'm wasting it.
Tracy's probably like subliminally sending us that message, both of us.
What
what about my organization?
Yeah.
Come on.
Me.
Come on. All right, so we are almost to the end here, and the last thing that I ask every guest to do is now. So we're going to change the tone a little bit. The circumstances of how we're relating can change a little bit here. So I ask every guest to do what I call a heart swell, and what it is just thinking about somebody that you really have something deep to share. And it could be anything. It could be just a tribute, telling someone how much you love them. It could be an act of forgiveness, telling someone like, hey, I'm sorry, or maybe telling, this has never happened, but hey, it was the first for everything, but like telling somebody like, hey, that did hurt, and I need to tell you this. Like, I want you to know this. And the reason that I do this, obviously, number one, is I believe in vulnerability, and I want everybody to come along this extreme sportist journey with me. Yeah. But I believe in it as a means to sharing, showing more shared deep emotion as a way to just raise the level of empathy in the world. It's like just showing, like, look, we all have them. We have deep, concerns and cares and emotions towards each other, and it's okay to share that, and it's not so scary. Yeah. So that's why I ask everybody to do it, not to embarrass them, but just to go what's in your heart. Totally. So does somebody come to mind that you would like to share a heart swell to?
Yes, I think it's kind of a two-parter though.
Okay. Well then, look at the camera and two-part away.
Okay.
Not Tupac away, not two-part, just in case I slurred that. I don't know what that would mean, Tupac away.
You know what? He has some deep stuff. Did you see that thing Tracy posted? If not, I'll show you later. It's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I'll share it later. I'll share with everybody else too later. We'll retweet it.
No, I would say my heart swell definitely goes out to my dad, because I would not be where I am or who I am if you weren't around to help me and to pick me up when I'm down, and to remind me that anxiety isn't me, it's a part of me, and it's something that I can use and learn from, and a tool. And and I love you for that, because you're awesome, and I think that you are a wonderful person in the world that people enjoy relating to, and I hope to be that for a lot of other people someday as well. And also, my heart swell goes out to me, weirdly, because it's really fucking hard to do this, to take accountability and responsibility for yourself, and to change your own narrative, and to do something that you've always wanted to do, that you've always been afraid to do, and going after it. And I think that that's, especially being an only child, can be really hard. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, that was the first ever heart swell to yourself, and I love it, because you just looped the whole show, because I said, like, hey, it starts with self-care. Like, there is a lot of stuff. If you didn't grow up with anxiety, there's a lot of things in the world to have anxiety over, and I think it does start with self-care. Those are the seeds of love that we need for ourselves to, like, be the best version of ourselves, and to, show up in a really impactful way for other people too, in a meaningful way, not negative or positive, but just being meaningful.
To be relatable.
To be relatable. Yeah. Look at you. Totally. She's coming on again. I can already tell.
Ooh,
we'll have more topics. That. So that does bring us to the end of the show. I can see everybody on Facebook. I wish I could have had time to ask a question, and we'll maybe do that next show, but we were just running short on time. But I appreciate you showing up. I see Maria and Viv and Jeffrey and Heath and Benjamin and Roselle. Like, shout out to all of you guys.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So thank you so much. You see Taylor's reel on missdeline.weebly.com, and I will Weebly.
missdeline.weebly.com.
Got it. Yes. And I will share that as a link, so you don't have to take my word for it. You can just click on a link and get there. Next week, I'm going to have therapist Hillary Kern. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about using your body and like what the messages that it's telling you. She specializes in dances therapy, so it's going to be really cool.
That's awesome.
Excited about that. I'm still looking for people that have things that they've been told it's like a weird thing that people can't relate to them over it. Like, it's their thing, but other people are like, I can't relate with you. I want you to come on. You can stump the relator in me. Tell me your thing, and like we'll find some common ground. So I'm looking for people.
Interesting.
Yeah, to come on and tell me their weird or strange or unusual or unique, whatever you want to call it, interests. and we'll talk about that. So reach out to me at stephaniemichele.com. You can tweet me at Love More Now or find me on Instagram at Relate with Steph. The social challenge of the day is going to be reframe is the game, okay? So we talked about reframing. I like it as a tool, like when you catch yourself sort of going somewhere that just doesn't feel like it's going to serve you, like you're starting to get angry at somebody, or you're creating this narrative that you're just going really deep and dark, like just change it, like go, what if, what if this is that, like change it, make it funny, mad lib it. If you're like, if you can't figure out what to do, write it down and then like take some words out and mad lib it. That would be hilarious, right?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. So just think about reframing as your social challenge for the week, and let me know how that goes. And reframes the game.
That's right.
Like, let's do it.
So play.
Yeah,
have fun.
And that's it. So, as always, I'm just encouraging everybody to relate with more curiosity, and we will see you next week, next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye. That was fun.
You're listening to Relatable with Stephanie Michele, only on LA Talk Radio.